Hello everyone, welcome to my channel Nikitinaknits. My name is Evgeniya, and in this video I'm so excited to share with you my favorite November knitting patterns. In October I wanted to do the same video, and honestly I sat down and I started to write down the list and nothing much caught my attention so much. That's why I skimmed that month. But overall, every month I find something interesting, something I would love to knit myself, and I speak about these videos only about those patterns. So they're not all patterns that were released in November, but I'm only speaking about those that I want to knit, and I am so excited, and I already consider the yarn, consider construction, my personal preferences, and I'm so happy to share them with you. So grab your knitting, grab your favorite drink, in my case is some mint tea with fruits, and let's dive into gorgeous November knitting patterns that excite me so much. I'm jumping straight into Janette Cardigan by MorecaKnit. When she was designing it, when it was on her needles, I was really waiting for the end result and to see pictures of testers. And when I saw it and then I saw how it's knit, I was like, oh my gosh, I need this cardigan. And so there's a few reasons why I need this cardigan. But first, briefly about technical specs and what is the cardigan about. So it is a worsted weight pattern that is knit on 4.5mm needles, and that is really warm, really sturdy and cozy. And it features this very thick double folded neckline that is crew neck, very warm and thick double knit bottom band. So it provides additional warmth and the wind cannot go in. So I would treat this jacket like a go out jacket when I don't want to wear my feathers jacket yet, or when it's really cold at home and I don't want to turn on the heating on maximum, and I would wear it. But personally I would still prefer an outdoor piece, and I don't have this item in my wardrobe, and I was looking forward to such pattern. Now my problem with such jackets, there's so many of them in the market. My problem with them is that mostly they're knitted with European shoulder construction, where we have a seam at the back, or imitation of seam at the back of the shoulders, not right on top. And because of that, there's always pulling front and the cardigan falls off the shoulders. The very drop shoulder constantly scares me, because I needed such cardigan once with quite a drop shoulder, and I'm quite skinny, so it constantly falls off my shoulders and it's just not so practical for me. So I was quite hesitant, and I was just dreaming for someone to release a pattern that should not fall off the shoulders. For these, the shoulder seam has to be right on top, and the garments that are with the seam on top I usually knit bottom up, and I didn't find a design bottom up like that I would fall in love with. So this cardigan has a seam right on top, and by description I could understand that you just cast on all of the stitches for the back, and then you start going back and forth, forming first the neck depth and then a shoulder slope all over the German short rows, and then you pick up stitches for the right shoulder, for the left shoulder, and you probably also do the short rows to, you know, shape the shoulder in the correct way. Then you increase for the neckline and knit the front panels to the armholes. After that you connect back panel and the front panels, and you knit the whole cardigan, you know, flat to the desired length, and then the stitches are picked up, and the armhole, you do the short rows to shape the sleeve cap, and that is actually very nicely made in this pattern. I love it a lot. And then you do the sleeves and the finishings of the neck and the bottom band. I'm in love with the design. The only thing I would change is I would not probably do the bottom band, a double knit bottom band like that, because I noticed that it's quite chunky and thick. So double knit fabric on top of double knit fabric creates, yes, very warm fabric, but it's quite thick and chunky, and it adds additional weight to the garment. And I'm still not sure about folded over neckline, the crew neck. So I like it, but I still have in mind the idea to do the 2x2 or 2x1 ribbing, like in Eva Cardigan by Babette Knit. I like that ribbing quite a lot. So I was thinking, would it be beautiful if I used 2x2 ribbing, just one layer and the collar, and the same 2x2 ribbing here at the bottom band? I don't know. In my imagination, it will. Let me know what you think. But I also like the original version as well. The recommended yarn is made with two options. The first one is Gepard Pure La.Na, and that is 50% alpaca and 50% merino wool, and plus Gepard Kid Satin, which is a kid silk mohair of traditional metrage. And the second version is Unling number 3, held together with Unling number 10, which is also a kid mohair, and Unling number 3 is just a merino wool that is quite thick. So when I'm about to knit such jackets, I always look forward to maybe not the softest yarns, because I want these jackets to hold up. Also I want them to be lightweight and extremely warm, since I will be treating this jacket as a outerwear. So I like the idea of Gepard Pure La.Na, because 50% alpaca is going to add a lot of lightness and a lot of warmth and quite a lot of drape. So if you like some drape. That is perfect. I saw this yarn in a yarn shop. It's not the softest, but again, as I said, I'm not looking for the softest. It's just that with that option, if I'm going to do 2x2 ribbing here and the neck and in the bottom band, it is going to be a problem because alpaca doesn't hold the shape of any ribbing. So I was thinking of the options that I could replace it with. Well, the first that comes in mind is Perigent by Sadness Garden, held together with some mohair, and Perigent holds the shape quite well. And the second option that was in my mind is actually to try Atlas by Sadness Garden, which is a new yarn that was just recently released, and it is a more like airy yarn. It is not blown, it is still spun slightly, and the texture of that yarn is quite interesting. It is way more airy than Perigent, it is quite lighter, and it's even thicker than Perigent. Atlas is actually 70% Norwegian wool, lamb's wool, the first cut of the sheep, and 30% merino wool, which is nice because you get the sturdiness and warmth of Norwegian wool and softness of merino. I'm so interested to try that yarn, and I'm thinking that it also could be an option for this project. But with this yarn, you should be even more careful of rowing out. I have that problem sometimes, and that very airy yarn shows it even more, so I would be way more careful on purling to not make it look quite ugly. So gorgeous cardigan, and I can't wait to knit it one day. And I can't believe I'm saying it, but the next pattern I want to speak about is my own design. I released a full free step-by-step tutorial for the socks. It's absolutely free. You just have to follow the video, follow whatever I'm saying there stitch by stitch, and you will get the beautiful socks. This is my gratitude to my community for 10,000 subscribers. I feel like I wanted to give something back to the community, and this tutorial comes out exactly in the similar time when I got 10,000 people here on YouTube, which I'm extremely grateful for. So let me briefly say about these socks. So I call them Braidy ribbed socks, and I literally wanted to experiment with some weird irregular ribbing that is quite thick and inconsistent, and I wanted to implement some braids in the sides. So this is exactly what I did. I was trying a lot of times, unraveling many times, playing with the gauge, playing with different thickness of the rib, and in the end I got the socks that I'm so happy with, and I already knitted 3 pairs, and I will keep on knitting them. They're so satisfying to knit. They're extremely simple, even if for some people it may look a bit complicated. They're super simple, and they're knitted cuff down with a strong heel construction, which is my favorite heel construction. Normal toe decreases, nothing crazy. So the yarn I chose to work with was Rosarius for Maya, which is 70% merino wool and 30% nylon or polyester, and it is extremely soft yarn. I love it so much. It feels like cashmere on my feet, to be honest. It's perfect for sleeping socks or for home cozy socks. I wouldn't use this yarn in the shoes for hardware because merino wool is quite soft. I don't really think it's going to hold up, and I hope that you get a chance to enjoy these socks. I took so much time to create them. I failed so many times. I was recording again and again in many different versions until I got the perfect one, and it's just like my child that I'm sharing with you. The next one is so beautiful. I am so in love. It is Winnie Sweater by Lily Kate Makes, or Lily Kate France, and that's a continuation of her top. She released Winnie top in July or June, I think in June, and then she noticed how popular that pattern became, and I think quite a few people asked if she's going to make a sweater version. I was also curious about that, and when I saw on Instagram that she's actually creating the sweater version and she showed like a part of the sleeve, I was extremely in love. And when the pattern came out, I was completely taken away by the beauty of it. So what I quite like about such patterns is that you can make actually a few versions that could be looking completely different. So you can make a version that is originally designed with this beautiful lace edging that is knitted and attached separately. Another version you can make a completely minimalistic, super basic design. So for example, in I-cord edge or 1x1 2x2 edge, folded over edge, and so many different versions that could be made with this simple design. I also like how Coco Knits makes different versions in different fabric. So she made one in Cardiff cashmere, I think, and one in Angora yarn with a different edging. So that looks very contrasty, and you can see by this example how different the same pattern could look if you just fantasize and play with different textures, different colors, and different yarns, of course. I'm a fan of such blouses, and I will keep on knitting them for my wardrobe because I notice whenever I knit something similar, I constantly gravitate towards it, and because of that I feel more brave to invest into a bit more expensive yarn for such designs because they're extremely basic and I know I will get a lot of wear out of them. So the design is extremely extremely elegant, feminine, and relaxed. The shoulders are a bit dropped. There's also a good amount of positive ease, but it's not heavily oversized. So it's something between fitting and free blouse as well. I'm just in love. So let's speak about the yarn and the construction. The yarn is Cardiff Cashmere Classic, and the whole garment is actually knitted on 4mm needles, no, 3.75. The gauge is 21 stitch and a half per 10 centimeters. So I knitted Cardiff Cashmere on 3.5mm needles. I knitted the whole sweater, and I noticed that I still would like it a bit more tight because I was still a bit cold with that sweater during winter, and I would like to get more wear out of that. So I was thinking, if I'm knitting this pattern, which yarn I'm going to pick up, and I was thinking to actually experiment with something interesting. So I would pick one strand of Knitting for Olive, and then I would buy a cashmere lace to pair with it. It could be any cashmere lace that is fluffy enough to show off the fluff, if you like that effect. I love that effect a lot. I like cashmere fluff. So the options are Cardiff Small and Knitting for Olive Merino, then Pasquale cashmere lace and Knitting for Olive Merino, and of course baby alpaca, Suri alpaca would work, or just baby alpaca. So I think you can just fantasize whatever you want with this second strand. If you want to get more inspired, or if you're sensitive to mohair, you could check my mohair substitutes video that I'm going to put on the screen. You have a lot of different second strand options there for you to get inspired. And now the construction, there's no explicit explanation on how it works step by step, but it is top down for sure. You shape all of the back with short rows, and all of this shoulder slope is also made with the short rows. And then you're knitting the back panel, the front panels separately. You create this V-neck, obviously with the increases. After you're done, you connect two panels together, knit down in the round, and then cast on stitches for the sleeve. Do the sleeve cup with the short rows, and finish the sleeves with the decreases. What about another V-neck by Knitonomy? Knitonomy Boston V-neck, that's the name of this gorgeous pullover that features extremely minimalistic but very special design. So you want to look at it, you want to see different details, but at the same time, overall, it looks very basic, minimalistic, and calm. I love this type of designs. I don't think it's quite easy to achieve. I am quite picky when it comes to detailing in the pattern, and this one is just, you know, it took my heart. It's beautiful, and it's knitted with gorgeous yarn. So first, let's discuss the idea of the sweater. It is knit on 3.5mm needles with sport weight yarn, so I don't think it's very warm sweater, but it is perfect to wear in the office, to wear under the jacket, to wear in the spring and early autumn times when you're a bit hot still but cold already and the weather is constantly changing. Also, there is a skirt that is matching this specific design that was released before, and it looks so beautiful together, especially in this basic gray color that looks very flattering to, I imagine, most body types. And I also think both long skirt and shorter version of the skirt would look perfect with this beautiful V-neck pullover. So in my view, I see this sweater oversized with a perfect amount of ease. Let's see if the designer actually says her body measurements and the amount of positive ease that she's wearing. No, it doesn't say such measurements, but actually a few other designers that I saw on Ravelry, they do say what's the circumference of the model and what exact positive ease that the model is wearing, which is extremely helpful because sometimes I see completely different versions, different situations when design, for example, says, okay, the amount of positive ease is 20 centimeters, but the model is actually wearing the sweater with 30 centimeters of positive ease. So people thinking that they will achieve similar pictures, similar effect, choose recommended size to their bust circumference, and they end up being not happy with the result. I've seen it so many times. So now I'm extremely careful when it comes to this. I think it's true here, 30 centimeters of positive ease will give you this amount of, freedom, and it's going to drape really nicely. So also something I really like is first the shoulder detail, that there's this very thick line from which other lines are, starting from. I don't know, the way the whole pattern is aligned, all of these lines, the way they interact just gives me a lot of pleasure. And especially this line that goes along the V-neck and from which other lines are starting. I don't know, beautiful, beautiful, pleasure to look at. I would say that completely harmonious pattern, and I, as already said, can't wait to knit it. So now the yarn and the construction. First, the yarn is Pasquale Cashmere, 100% Cashmere 628. That is very soft, nice and fluffy, and the reason why I know so much about this cashmere is because right in the past video on my channel, in my knitting vlog, I showed the unboxing of entire box of cashmere, and I'm going to knit with this, and I spoke a lot about this brand and their values and their sustainability approach. It's a German brand, German quality, which I appreciate a lot. So of course, I would go with this cashmere. And also what I like about thin cashmere sweaters is that they're quite drapey, airy, but still warm. I love it a lot. At the same time, they don't let you sweat. So as I already said, it's perfect for mid-season changes or when you work indoors and you want to still maintain your temperature really well. So the colors of Pasquale cashmere are gorgeous, and there are not so many, but each of them is very unique, very rich, very complex, and I'm sure many people will find their perfect color. And the texture is extremely fluffy, extremely soft and yummy towards your skin. It's just gorgeous. And the construction, it is top-down European shoulder construction, or in my country we call it Japanese shoulder, where you just start the back trapezoid shape, the panel that you shape with back and forth rows or with a short rows, and then you just pick up stitches and the right shoulder knit the front panel with the increases for the V, doing the same for the left. Combine everything together, back and front panels, and knitting them in the round down. After that, you pick up stitches for the sleeves and knitting the sleeves top down, what it says in the design description, but I don't know if there's short rows to shape a little bit of the sleeve. It may seem like they're not needed there because it's quite an oversized sweater, but in my opinion they're still needed there, and I hope they're there. But it is quite a thick ribbing, so I don't see any problem to implement any short rows on your own if you're willing to do so. And then you pick up stitches and the V-neck and doing the ribbing with probably some sort of Italian cast off. Alright, the next one is the pattern that was released by one of my best friends, Inna. It's a knitter that lives in Tenerife. She's originally from Latvia, and she released an absolutely free YouTube tutorial, also stitch by stitch. It is in Russian language, but the English subtitles are available, so you can just turn on the captions and read through. Overall, the scarf is extremely simple. There's also schematics, like charts for you to follow, that are very professionally made. She's done a very beautiful job, and the scarf is knitted extremely simply, so I guess most people are going to be able to handle the pattern and enjoy such a beautiful spring-like scarf. It is knitted from angle to the angle, so you start by casting on very few stitches and then you increase gradually to desired length, or as mentioned in the pattern, you're optionally doing some I-cords on the sides for the fabric to not roll inwards, depending on the yarn that you're using, right? Some yarn and the fabric is going to roll in more, some is not going to, but she's informing you with all of that information. And especially I like this gorgeous, very gentle and feminine clover motif that is randomly placed across the whole scarf. I saw this scarf in real life. She had one in Cardiff cashmere. It was beautiful. It was very nice and warm, but light and airy at the same time. It was really beautiful. And both me and Nastya, our another friend knitter, we said, we want the scarf. Do you have a class or PDF for it? And she created this gorgeous video. So the scarf could be knitted in anything, in one strand of mohair, one strand of brushed cashmere, more thick cashmere like Cardiff Classic or Pasquale 628, any sort of fabric you have in mind, sur alpaca for example. You can free up your fantasy and you will get a beautiful scarf in the end, I'm sure. So thank you, Inna, very much for this gorgeous design. I can't wait to knit it myself, and I hope you all can enjoy this wonderful free design. Alright, we keep on going with some interesting stuff. Right now, I'm going to get a little bit nerdy about the construction because it's very important for the next upcoming pattern. So it is the perfect basic sweater by La.Na.Knit. Behind La.Na.Knit, there is a wonderful woman. Her name is Larissa, and I spoke about her in my Ukrainian knitting patterns that are available in English. Check that video out if you haven't. Beautiful, interesting designs. So this month, she released a gorgeous sweater that is actually designed for men, but it can be perfectly worn by women, so it's completely unisex sweater. She showed how it looks on her as a female and on men. It looks beautiful in both samples. It's just that on men it looks way more fitted and more tight. On us women it looks way more dropped shoulder, way more positive ease, but still looks very beautiful and feminine and basic. Also, what's cool about the pattern is that it comes in two different stitch patterns. You have one in stockinette with high neck, and then there is a version with cabling and some thick ribbing. I love both versions, and I want to knit one for myself and to wear it as a female. professional. I don't really see my husband wearing cables, it's not his thing, but I would like to knit one for myself. And the reason to that is extremely smart construction. So I'm very picky about the construction, and some people actually asks me, where did I learn about construction? Why am I like that? Not like why you're like that, but you know, people were curious if I have any technical background. No, I don't have any technical background. I have a background about fiber because I had silk shop. I know a lot about silk, but not more than that. The reason why I'm so picky about the construction is that when I was learning how to knit, I was only using our YouTube from Ukraine, our Ukrainian women who were speaking about how to knit, I don't know, for example, raglan sweater or drop shoulder sweater. And in Ukraine, it's very popular that they post videos explaining things in very much detail. And usually this type of women are seamstresses, or they have some sort of technical background, or they're just, you know, addicted to knitting, and they're also picky about construction. And overall, the demand for details in the construction in my country are really high. So the market is demanding perfectly fitted construction for some reason. I don't know why is it like that, and designers deliver. So if you're knitting Ukrainian patterns, there are going to be a lot of show throws, a lot of details, a lot of complicated technical sides of the sweater to make it fit perfectly. Of course, not every designer creates complex patterns like that, but most of the designers that live in Ukraine for now and they deliver to Ukrainian people, they do follow quite complicated technical requirements from knitters. Anyways, back to the sweater. If we look at the sweater, it is going to be completely recognizable pattern with this line at the back shoulder. It is going to be slightly dropped shoulder, and everything that we see in the pattern, we can say, well, we saw that many times, right? What's so special about it? So you cast on stitches for the entire back, and then you're going back and forth doing a lot of shaping that is normally not present in the patterns. What it creates is, first of all, the neck depth right at the back. So usually when we need these trapezoid shapes or any sort of similar construction, usually we just immediately start increasing for the shoulder line, right? But here first you're doing the depth of the neck, which I had to implement myself in the Poppy Tee but sweater by Petite Knit, and it was a pain because I had to do it on my own, and I don't want to think, I just want to enjoy the pattern. And the neck depth adds a lot of professionalism and beautiful fit to the whole sweater, because our neck is actually round, so it's very nice when the whole neck is round all the way around, not just cut in the back and then, you know, round in the front like a scoop. So I really appreciate it. I still knit the patterns that don't have neck depth, but if there is a neck depth, I'm really happy all the time. Both in the cardigans and in the sweaters, for me, it's very important. Then when you're done with the whole back panel, you're doing similar things that we're used to. You pick up stitches here, you form the increases for the neck. I don't know if there's show throws here also at the shoulder, maybe. And then you connect everything here. You're knitting the front panel, also doing the armhole shaping, which is another plus. I like the armhole shaping. When it's just a square, not my favorite thing. So after that, you're doing the complete body in the round. You connect panels again back and front. You knit then the whole body down to desired length, and you're casting on stitches, picking up stitches for the sleeves, doing your sleeve cap and knitting the sleeves down. So you see, it is very recognizable construction, but with some sort of spicy details that make it completely professional and interesting. And it is going to be a learning curve if you want to advance your skills and challenge yourself maybe. So one thing I want to say about the designer and her pattern writing, when I spoke about her in my past video that was last year, the description looked like it was just Google translated. It was not easy to read, especially for beginners, and I warned people that, hey, if you want to knit the pattern, it's better if you're experienced so you know what's going on. Now I looked at the description and the English looks so nice. It's very professional, I would say, still with some differences because she's not a native speaker, obviously, but everything is clear. I can understand everything. Everything is so beautifully formatted, and I think people would be completely fine understanding what's going on. It's beautifully written right now. Good job. So I want to knit the sweater for myself, and I want to knit it with the yarn that I have in stash. So this is Schiphes or Schephes. I don't know exactly always how to pronounce it. It's a Danish brand. It is a 70% merino, 75% extra fine merino wool, and 25% nylon. Extremely soft. I'm not using it for socks. I love this yarn, but not for socks, too soft. And I want to pair it with 2 strands of Gepard cashmere lace, which is 100% cashmere, 350 meters per 25 grams, and very, very thin, so it's a lace weight. So 2 strands of lace and 1 strand of heavy fingering weight or sport weight. and that should give me closer to DK weight. The recommended yarn from her is some sort of yarn and cone, Italian yarn and cone, which people don't have access to, which is quite a strong DK weight yarn, and Mondial Super Wool, which is available for the purchase, but I don't like the structure that is too smooth, not really within my taste. So if you like that smooth texture where you can see actually everything rowing out, picking up stitches, any sort of imperfections, you can see everything with that yarn. If you like this type of structures that is super smooth, of course Mondial could be really good. It's a good brand. So imagine this beautiful braided version with rips in this gorgeous like lavender blue color. It would look beautiful. Of course, now the lighting is completely different. It's hard to see the real color, but it's going to look so beautiful. I love it. If I only had time to knit it all. I have to say that lately I'm quite a fan of LAMANA patterns. LAMANA is a German brand, a yarn company that produces gorgeous yarns, and I'm so excited to finally have it in my hands and knit a whole garment in it, and I feel like it's going to happen very soon. So I love their yarns, and also I like their patterns, and they released Babette Cardigan this month. I normally don't tend to like these type of styles of cardigans, so where you don't have any shaping of the neck, you literally have this line that goes right down to your body, and especially at the back there is very interesting detail. The cardigan kind of starts from a little V, which usually also not my thing, but I don't know, they did it. They released, and I like it, and I like everything including that little V at the back, and I like that it's shaped this way. I like the stitch pattern. I like all of the details of this cardigan. Don't know how it works, you know, you just place it all together and just like a puzzle, it clicks in your mind and you like it, and your subconscious is saying, yes, this is my thing, and I feel happy if I'm going to be wearing it. So this is what happened to me when I saw this beauty, and it features one of my favorite things. So it's very thin needles, 3.25 and 2.5 millimeter needles are used in the pattern, which is my favorite thing because it is featuring half fisherman's rib, and I like both brioche and half fisherman's rib on tiny needles, as I mentioned in one of my videos, and this pattern features exactly that. You get very squishy, not so chunky, but thick and bouncy fabric that is very warm, very airy and light at the same time. I love this type of fabric. It's just that not many people are willing to put so much effort on tiny needles in half fisherman's rib. I'm willing, it's gorgeous, and I love this stitch pattern. Also, in addition to that, we have gorgeous braids that are interacting with the half fisherman's rib in this very interesting random order. I would say it's like a chess order. And in the bottom of the cardigan, we have this very beautiful wave. I don't know if it's created, I don't think so. I think it's just due to the character of the whole stitch pattern motif. So the braids are a bit longer than the half fisherman's rib, and that's why we're achieving this beautiful wave in the bottom. I see myself wearing this both in the house and outside, and even going for a date, and I don't know, it's just going to be so versatile. So now shortly about the yarn and then the construction. Obviously, since I love LAMANA yarns, I would go with the recommended yarn. In this case is Como Cashmere. Como Cashmere is extremely lightweight, is only 25 grams, that gives you 120 meters, and it is 70% merino wool and 30% cashmere. So about the construction, it is a little bit challenging, but it makes complete sense because in the end we're achieving a very beautiful fit. So you're knitting it bottom up, flat in one piece up to the armholes, then you split for the back panels, and for the front panels you knit separately, front panel on the right, then front panel of the left, and you're knitting back panels separately. I knitted this type of construction before. It's not that complicated maybe as it sounds. After that, you're doing short rows back and forth to create a beautiful shoulder slope, and then you're connecting everything back and two front panels with needles, 3 needle bind off technique. If we would need this pattern top down, it would be way more complicated, and I don't know, I would go mad. In addition to that, it is very nice to have quite a sturdy seam at the top of the cardigan because it is not so short. It is going to have some weight even though it's a lightweight yarn, and it's really nice to have this sturdy shoulder seams. And after you're done with that, you're just knitting the sleeves bottom up and seaming them up into the armholes. But there is also an advantage to knit bottom up. First of all, because it's easier, you don't need to manage the decreases, you just knit flat without, you know, having pain in the round. I don't like sleeves in the round, especially on small circumferences. And you're also creating a seam when attaching the sleeve to the body, and you add durability and firmness to the whole cardigan so it doesn't stretch out with time very soon. So I already dream about the colors I would use in this cardigan. It's so beautiful, so cozy and warm and feminine. I don't know, I'm in love. I'm in love with these patterns. And LAMANA also released more patterns this month that I adore. I'll just place the names on the screen and you can make your own research. I love them, but not that desperately as this cardigan, so that's why I didn't include them in the pattern, but they're also very beautiful. So at this point, I would like to finish my video. I'm sorry for my voice if you notice that I'm a bit sick. I'm recovering, I'm already way better, and I'm almost done. I thought I'm completely fine until I started to record a long video and my throat started to give up a little bit. Anyways, I was so glad to sit down and discuss everything that I love. I'm so inspired, and it's just such a pity that there is not enough time for all of that. But maybe it's good, because imagine my wardrobe would just explode with all of these items if I could knit them all. It would be crazy. So maybe it's good. Please let me know what you're knitting on right now, which pattern you liked from the list. What are you excited to knit? Do you gift knit? I don't gift knit this year. I was so stressed all of these previous years. This year, I don't gift knit. Not even one pattern. The only gift knit I want to make is for myself, socks, Christmas socks that I bought the yarn for, and the Barcelona Knits Festival that I just came back from. So if you want to see that video, all of my reflections, my emotions, and my purchases of extremely special yarns, you can watch that video and maybe share your story on attending the knitting festival. Overall, I hope you enjoy your cold weather knits. I hope you're excited for the winter season just like I am. And I'm, as usually, hoping to see you soon in my next video.